people, go to school, spend at least 4 years at the university or other higher institutions, and come out, and with no jobs, readily available, and most people might tend to turn to one sort of social vices or the other. But then, some people are saying that skills acquisition is actually an alternative, is another way to go in a time like this. We'll be looking at that on the show this morning, and we have a guest with us here in the studio.
Exactly. We have the CEO of Builders Hub in person of James Owolabi. Good morning and welcome to Galaxy today.
Good morning.
Okay, so let's talk about skills acquisition. I mean, sometimes people think that, or there's this mentality that if you cannot do a white collar job, just get something, let your hands be busy with something. And for others, it feels like if everybody goes into skill acquisition, I mean, then who would be at the other end to actually patronize these skills? But in your own opinion, saying that this is something you're into, what would you suggest to people? Are you saying that it should be a voluntarily compulsory thing that for everyone, at least everyone should have one kind of skill or the other?
Yes. Good morning. Thank you for having me. It's very important for anyone, in any education. Skill is just basically that thing which you are a specialist in doing. So whether you're a doctor, I mean, a medical doctor is skilled in treating the human beings, I mean, the human body. So it's the same thing for every vocation, every type of things, be it someone who is in a bank, who works in the bank, they possess certain skills. But what we have is that we're dealing with academic components. The degrees give you the academic component, but the skill component is lacking. And that's why you have a lot of university graduates. They have the degree, they have the academic component, but the skill component is missing. So they come out of school and yes, they have the knowledge and the degree, but they are not skilled in achieving anything. And your skill is what you can do, what you can achieve. And I believe that this is where Nigeria needs to go, in terms of skill acquisition.
Okay, all right, so having said that, some people might wonder, why do I need to go through all the stress of writing UTME, post-UTME, spend 4 years in the university? At the end of the day, I come out with no job, and I want to go and fall back to people who have not really seen the forwards of the institution, who are some people term as not really well educated. Why would I want to go through the same process with them? Why don't I just go through an apprenticeship, with maybe my uncle in the Dumota, for instance, to learn one sort of vocation or the other?
Yes, if you go to your uncle in Idumota, yes, the problem you probably face there is that you're not doing it in a, how shall I say, organized environment. Your uncle, there are certain things, when it comes to skill acquisition, you have to cover some certain bases. For example, if I'm going to be a vulcanizer, there are certain skills, there are certain stages you need to, you need to cover, you need to be able to do. But when you go to an organized sector for skill acquisition, all those bases are covered. So we ensure that by the time you finish a particular module or a particular course, you have already covered all the likely scenarios. When you come out of that training, you're already equipped to face any type of scenarios.
Okay, so in a nutshell, you're saying that is it about not just being talented, but you have to be well informed about what skill you're acquiring. Okay, but as you want to say something?
Yes. You will also need to gain what you call the psychomotor skill. That's the ability. For example, someone who plasters a house must understand the technique you need to achieve, proper plastering, and what are the bases, how do I go about it, and all of that.
Okay, so how do we now differentiate skill acquisition from entrepreneurship? I mean, a whole lot of people think maybe soap making, polish making, and all those bits. If you're into such, then you become an entrepreneur.
Yes, but you see, when we're talking about entrepreneurship and skills, you might have the skill. Entrepreneurship covers quite a wide range. It covers marketing, it covers sales, it covers how do I get my product to the market, it covers do I have the technical know-how. That's entrepreneurship as a whole. You must understand the business, you must be able to read the market. But the skill is just a component of success. If you have the skill, And one of the things that, you know, if you go to a proper school or a proper vocational academic center, they will also train you to be an entrepreneur. But, you know, the foundation is the skill. You understand what I'm saying? For example, if I'm going to employ a driver, you understand what I'm saying? He might know all the streets of Lagos. He might know how to, you know, he might be knowledgeable. But if he does not have the driving skill, then he's of no use. You understand what I'm saying? So the skill is the foundation. So if you're going to be an entrepreneur, for example, an entrepreneur in what? You understand? You mentioned soap making. If I make soap, yes, the number one skill, the foundation is how to make the soap. But the other areas, components that make an entrepreneur is, do I have the knowledge? Do I have the marketing? Do I know, am I going to use digital media? Am I going to use traditional media to get the word out?
Okay, so that's where I'm actually going, because I know that there are so many benefits attached to skills acquisition. But looking at Nigeria now, taking Nigeria as a case study, where the trend is whatever sells, everybody moves there. And so we get to have a whole lot of wacky people.
Yes, yes.
So how do we address that? Because I see that as a huge disadvantage to skill acquisition. I mean, I come to you and they're probably a fashion designer, and because I've known the nitty-gritty about clothing, maybe sewing, and just within 2-3 months, I get out and come out to him and call myself a fashion designer.
Yes, yes.
And in that way, probably no room to create my own style, and I just have to keep copying whatever other designers have. You know, now how do we deal with the disadvantage? Because Nigerians are just used to
the bad wagon.
Exactly.
I don't want us to, I mean, I thank God for what the government is doing in this field. But one thing that we have to also understand is this. For example, if you go to England, if you go to China, you also have the bad wagon. You have the people who, but in all of those countries, you have what you call standard organizations that certifies. You understand? For example, if you go to United Kingdom, there's a body that really certifies, that gives for any organization to be able to give an award of qual. They do that in England, you know. And so in Nigeria, we thank God for what government is doing in that area. We have NAPTEP, doing a few things like that. But I don't want us to worry about that. And I'll give you an example. If you go to the fashion, you mentioned fashion now. Fashion now, we have that bad wagon there. And I want to really celebrate a lot of the youths today. Quite a number of them. You see a lot of university graduates, who are going into fashion designing. And one thing they've done today is that they've transformed the fashion industry.
Yeah.
They've done, someone like me now, these days I buy, locally made Nigerian shirts as, before going. You have Nigerian graduates who are sewing suits, who are sewing, so that's a good thing. Now, your question, how do you identify the good ones? It's a question of time. A question of time, the ones who are doing well, you will get repeat sales, and the ones who are not doing the right thing, they'll be. That's what you call capitalism.
Okay, so I'm sorry to butt in here, but for instance, like this fashion of a thing, now we have designers who do not create, they don't sew. Maybe because I've dealt with a whole lot of them. They bring in seamstresses or tailors or machinists to do the job for them. Then they put in their logo.
Yes,
that's where I'm going to. Now,
all right, James, you will answer that, but I understand that we need to go and pay some bills. It's still Galaxy today. We are taking a very quick commercial break. But just before we do that, just to inform you that you can be a part of this discussion. You can send an SMS if you have a question or comment on this particular topic. The number will be displayed shortly, or you can interact with us via our social media platforms on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, using the hashtag Galaxy Today. We'll be right back in a moment. Stay with us. All right, welcome back. If you've just joined us, you're watching Galaxy Today. We are looking at the place of skills acquisition in Nigeria. And of course, like I said before the break, you can be a part of this conversation. If you have any question or comment, suggestion, do that by sending an SMS. The number will be displayed. It is on right now. You can send a message to that number or interact with us via our social media platforms using the hashtag Galaxy Today. All right, we still have James Owolabi here with us in the studios.
Exactly.
Yeah. You want to respond to the question which you asked before we went on that break?
Okay.
Maybe I need to
Okay.
rehash the question.
No, I was saying that, I mean, we have people who went to school, graduates, who now use the fashion industry as a case study now. And then you see them employ machinists or seamstresses, do the job. They do not create. They just empower these people. Okay, I want to use the word empower. They employ these people to empower themselves. I
Yes.
mean, I've seen this go on. And so I said that to say, to answer what you said earlier, that if you give it time, the good ones
Yes.
would have. And I'm saying a situation whereby these are people who are educated, they know how to manage manpower to their own interest. What do we do to that? Because it looks like they're not the one acquiring the skills now.
I think I'm going to say something very critical now. Right now, I think the government really are having it bottom up. You understand? They have it upside down. And now, I mean, we're focusing vocational skill acquisition to the guy who didn't go to school. You see, there's a critical problem here in Nigeria. I mean, one of the best countries in the world. Incidentally, they are one of the most industrialized nation in the world is Germany. Even as a university graduate, no matter you are expected to go to a vocational school and learn a skill. We're getting it wrong because a lot of the programs being rolled out there are being rolled out to the illiterates, to people who don't have any university education or higher school learning. And that's wrong. If you equip the guy who went to primary school and you give him a skill, yes, he might understand the skill, but there's a whole lot. You mentioned entrepreneurship now. For example, I grew up into a building materials family. So I understand, I mean, I came to understand about tiling right from when I was young. Now, as I'm sitting here, I've done a lot of work in the tiling industry. But have I tiled a room on my own? Maybe one room on my own. But do I know the know-how of delivering? I mean, we mentioned the fashion industry now. Quite a number of these guys, most of them probably have not sewn a complete suit by themselves. But they know, they have learned the cutting. They have learned the steps. They know all it takes to, produce a good suit. And you need a higher university learning to be able to do that. You understand what I'm saying? Of course, there's a literate guy who can do that as well, but he might not understand the other components of success. He might not understand marketing. He might not understand packaging. You understand what I'm saying? And so, I mean, there are some shirts I wear in my office. Incidentally, one of Gani Fahimi's son actually sews suits and shirts.
For couture.
Yes, and he, I mean, I buy his shirts.
Now,
does this guy sit down? And that is what I'm trying to, that is what we're trying to do. That there are some skills, there are some vocations that we need a lot. My target in training is I'm targeting the graduates because I'm a product of that, and I have countless numbers of graduates who have come. I mean, there's a guy who makes cake. He read medicine. You understand what I'm saying? But today he makes cakes. You understand? So we need to get that higher. We need to get those that information, that outlook. But it's not gathering 10,000 people.
But then, sorry to butt in here. The issue you just mentioned someone who is a doctor, studied medicine, and he is baking and doing all that stuff. So when picking a skill or when trying to pick a skill or vocation to learn, how do you go about this? Would you want to do it based on personal interest or based on what you have studied over time in school? How do you go about it exactly?
It's got nothing to do with what you studied in school.
Okay.
It's got a lot to do with your passion. You understand? I mean, there's this young lady. She resigned from Diamond Bank, and today she's a painter.
Okay, exactly. Another point of mine, because there's a mentality here that I'm a sucker that you must go to school.
Yeah.
Not go to school to the peak where you think whatever career you've chosen, make sure you get to the point of it where you can actually master. We call it master. Now, what is wrong in me? Okay, if I know that I'm cut off for baking, what's the essence of studying banking and finance when I know that baking is actually what I want and I can just go that way. But I think there's still a mentality in Nigeria where you must get a degree.
Yes.
And that's why we have so many graduates out there who are either jobless or they can't even defend their degree. So what would you suggest to people who, I'm trying to coin it the way, I know that you can study catering services in school.
Yes.
I don't necessarily have to be a medical doctor then before pursuing my dream. Why waste that time in school?
Exactly.
So what would you suggest to people like that?
I mean, I think like NAPTEP, I think is beginning to do something in that line. Because you see, what happens in England is this: if let's say I love baking, and I go and I do some vocational skill, those vocational skills, they are actually equivalent to some academic something, you know. And the more we start realizing that, you understand what I'm saying, just like the HND and all of that. And it's also your ability to be able to deliver whatever is that your skill, you know, whatever you have learned and all of that. I mean, I bless God today that, you know, most of who I am today is because of the skill I learned, you know, in the building industry. So you must be able to convert that. I mean, we have people in Mushi Market, you know, who these guys, you will understand that they have the skill, you know, in trading and all of that, you know, and they are doing far better than a lot of the people who have the degrees or a lot of the graduates. You understand what I'm saying? So if you're a graduate, and what's my advice? If you're a graduate and you have passion for something, why don't you go and get that understanding, get the skill in that field? And that is the only way we're going to change Nigeria. That is what has changed Germany today. Okay. I mean, Germany, they produce the best machines in the world because there is a great emphasis on skill acquisition. And so we must also stop looking down on people with skill acquisition. We must value.
Most people see them as unskilled or semi-skilled.
Yes, and there's another problem. The problem is even how much we want to pay for skill acquisition. I mean, someone wants to do a course. I mean, I thank God for, and I like to still celebrate the youth. Some of them who have gone into fashion designing. Some of them went abroad and did 3-month courses. They paid 2,000, 5,000 pounds to learn those courses. And they are coming back to Nigeria. And they are changing and they are making millions. There's a young man, all he makes is socks. That's all he makes. A pair of socks in his shop costs the minimum is about 5,000 naira for a pair of socks. Yes.
Wow.
And this guy, he's barely in his 30s. And this guy already has a shop in New York. These are Nigerians changing the thing. And it's because they learned a skill. These are Nigerians. It's not, when you say a young man who is driving a car, it's not all of them who are Yahoo guys. Some of these guys, they are learning skill and they are silently, you know, changing the market, you know.
All right. Okay, fine. Before we let you go now, let us talk about where you are from, Builders Hub. You are into the building and construction stuff. For instance, someone like me who studied accounting and who is a broadcaster, and I feel I like what builders do, and I want to come to maybe a place like Builders Hub. You know, is this something I could learn? Is this something that will take me like forever? Or I don't know. I really need to understand, since you say it's not based on what you studied in school.
It's not. It's the most important thing I look for, or we look for, is your passion.
Okay.
Because there's nothing easy in life. I'm not telling you now that you come in and, I mean, currently now in the school we have architects. I mean, these are guys who
trained architects.
Yeah, trained architects who have their degrees, you understand, and who are learning plumbing now. And you see, you must know what it takes to survive.
Learn plumbing, so that way I can do my plumbing myself.
It's not even about even yourself. It's even about the market. Do you know that in Nigeria, people even struggle to pay an architect the professional fee of, you know, they'll price down. I mean, why are you charging me this? Is it not just drawing? But the plumber who didn't go to school, he's going away from your building site with a profit of 1 million naira. He looks dirty, he looks all of that, but he's going away with 500,000. But the architect who is wearing suit and who is on site, he's barely making 200,000 naira on that site. You understand? Yeah. And I believe, I thank God now that quite a number of architects, that's why you see some architects, they went into construction. But some of them even went into construction blindly. They did not really, it's like learn by trial and error. But if there was a course, a curriculum for some of them, okay, you're an architect, you want to go into construction, yes, we'll tell you these are what you should do. And then the market as well. Sometimes the average man who wants to build a house thinks the architect knows everything. The architect does not know about plumbing. He does not know about electricity. He might have an idea, but he's not a trained person in that field. But and that comes to skill acquisition. If you're an architect, why don't you learn plumbing and then you earn a second stream of income? Why don't you learn so if someone is not calling you to do a drawing for them, another person is calling you to fix their plumbing works. And we're getting there. It's a huge task that I believe, and that is why my focus is basically the building industry. I mean, so don't come to a vocational school and tell me you want to learn cake making or you want to learn, we're not interested in that. We're focused strictly on building and construction.
Why building? Okay. Because everyone needs to live in the house.
Because that's what I've done.
Okay. But before you go, I just like to, I don't know if this should be a request. It's good if you do it as a graduate, but can we come down to secondary school level?
Oh yes.
I think it will be good when we catch them young.
Oh yes.
That way.
No, I mean, during the long vacation, we have, we already have plans for teenagers to, get. I mean, I learned a lot of these things as a young boy going to my father was selling building materials, so I was exposed to those things. And guess what? Before I finished school, I already made my first million, not from the degree, but from
the business.
From the business, from the skill. Because someone said, "Oh, I needed to do marble somewhere," and I knew about marble, and I worked in there, got the contract, and I have we have a lot of stories. I have a young man, I mean, who is one of the best, I mean, one of the biggest company in the marble and granite business. He studied pharmacy in school, but because the dad was in building materials trade, he went back into it, and today he's making all the millions. I mean, at least he's doing well in that field. So that's
all right. We have to let you go, but before we do that, for people who might really want to learn one or two skills from you in what you do, how can they do your social media and all of that, and maybe website or something? How can they reach out?
Oh yes. All you need to do is Google. Go on Google. Google Builders Hub. Builders Hub. BUILD. Builders. ILDERSHUB.
Yeah.
Just Google Builders Hub. You see the map will bring you to our site, or if you don't know how to get there, follow the Google map. We are signposted on Google Maps.
Google is always your friend. All right, and many thanks for being a part of this segment. We do appreciate it.
Okay, thank you very much.
Exactly. And so we'll take a break now. Shortly, but then we'll be joined by another person, and we'll be looking at domestic health controversies. I'm sure ladies want to hear this. Stay tuned. After the break, we'll get to talk about that.